Hi guys, and thank you for tuning in. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. If you end up liking the video, please consider subscribing. Before I get started, I want to say thank you for 100 subscribers. I remember when there was only like 5 of y'all, and I could not believe that people had subscribed. So while 100 subs may seem small in the grand scheme of things, I want to say thank you because I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my videos. So thank you. Today I want to talk about Frozen Valentine, specifically episode 6. If you've been watching this series from the beginning, you know it started off very slow and could be mistaken for very boring if you had not made it through episode 2. Jump forward to episode 6 and things have escalated very quickly. So today I want to talk about whether you should even be watching Frozen Valentine, how the series has been building up to episode 6 and why the episode felt so jarring and what I think is going to happen next. For those of you who haven't seen the series, Frozen Valentine follows Sham and Ping. Sham is Ping's senior from high school who rejected her back in the day, which is something Sham doesn't even remember when they meet again years later. The two reconnect when Ping auditions to act alongside Sham in a GL series, and from there their relationship slowly begins to develop. So, should you even be watching Frozen Valentine? I'm going to be honest. Frozen Valentine is not for everyone. As mentioned in the intro, the series starts off very slow. If you're not someone who enjoys slow burn storytelling, this might not be the series for you. On top of that, Frozen Valentine leans heavily into tropes, sometimes to the point where it feels like the story pauses instead of actually progressing the plot. I remember vividly after episode 1, I genuinely wasn't sure if I was going to continue watching the series, but I did end up sticking with it, and now I'm actually really enjoying it. If I had to describe the vibe of Frozen Valentine, I would say it really reminds me of Blank without the problematic parts, i.e. the weird age gap. Natty and Yipun as Cham and Ping really give me the same kind of feeling that Fai and Yoko gave in Blank. And I can't fully explain it. It might have something to do with how their characters are constructed. Cham is perceived as cold and guarded, while Ping is more optimistic and open. Ping's character is not as extreme as Anno in Blank, but they are definitely in the same lane. Now, one thing I really wanted to give Frozen Valentine credit for is that up until episode 6, the show has really done a really good job of portraying a healthy relationship dynamic. Even though both characters are clearly dealing with past trauma, that being Ping is still processing the emotional impact of being rejected by Sham back in high school, and Sham is dealing with her own abandonment issues, but despite that, their relationship has been built on something really important, which is clear, explicit consent. Sham has consistently shown that she values honesty and respect in relationships, and with Ping, she repeatedly makes it clear that she is free to walk away and can say no while always asking for permission so she does not cross any of Ping's boundaries. I really appreciated that, especially considering some of the other Thai GLs I've been consuming lately. Now let's talk about episode 6, because this is where everything shifts. If you've watched enough jail dramas, you know there's always a point in the story where the relationship reaches its peak because everything seems to be going right and then something happens to tear it all apart. Episode 6 of Frozen Valentine is exactly that moment, and timing-wise, it makes sense. We're at episode 6 out of 10, and this is where the major conflict usually hits. What caught me off guard is not what happened, but how fast it happened. We go from where episode 5 leaves off, which in my opinion, they were very much still in their slow burn era, to suddenly things getting very intense and very physical expeditiously. Which at first did feel out of place, but at the same time I recognized what was happening. The series needed to push Sham and Ping's relationship forward so that whatever conflict came next would actually have weight. What I did not expect was the conflict to come in the form of Sham being drugged by her ex-mint and then kissed. First, I want to make something very clear. This situation is not the same as the non-consensual moments I've discussed in other Thai GL dramas. And if you've seen my previous video on consent, you already know why that distinction matters. In this case, the kiss is not between the main couple. It involves Mint, the antagonist, so the framing here is very different. This isn't a moment being used to create romantic tension. This is an action taken by the villain of the story. The purpose of this scene is to create a rift between Sham and Ping, and Mint is very clearly operating from a mindset of, if I can't have Sham, no one can. This setup is almost identical to when Fame's character in The Earth drugs Din in an effort to destroy her relationship with Rose. So narratively, I understand what the show is trying to do. Now here's where my nuanced take on consent comes in. Based on everything we've seen so far, Frozen Valentine has consistently emphasized clear, enthusiastic consent between its main characters. So because of that foundation, I don't think this situation is going to be glossed over. At least, I hope it won't be. Unlike other Thai GLs where non-consensual moments are often romanticized or ignored, this series has already established that consent matters within the universe it has built, which means the expectation now is that the story will treat this situation seriously. I won't say I'm predicting what will happen next, but I'm hoping the following episodes will give a clear rejection of what Mint did. And if that doesn't happen, you all have permission to come back and scold me. With that being said, I want to emphasize that if scenes involving drugging or non-consensual situations are triggering or upsetting for you, please protect your peace. There's absolutely nothing wrong with choosing not to engage with content like this. No series is worth your mental well-being. Looking ahead to the following episodes, obviously there's going to be a breakdown in trust between Sham and Ping, and there will be a significant amount of time spent on Ping's misunderstanding of what occurred between Mint and Sham. This will most definitely bring a lot of miscommunication, but I hope the series keeps its focus and there's an adequate confrontation of Mint's actions which drives home the fact that a serious boundary was violated. Overall, Frozen Valentine has been a welcomed surprise in the current GL landscape. It was slow to start and it leans heavily into tropes, but it has also been very intentional about building a relationship rooted in mutual respect and consent, which is why episode 6 feels so shocking, not just because of what happened, but because it directly challenges the foundation the series had built. The real test for Frozen Valentine will be what happens next. Because, as I've said before, I don't believe problematic topics should be censored out of media, but they do need to be handled with care and taken seriously. So for now, I'm cautiously optimistic, but who knows, we'll see. But yeah guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you been watching the series? What are your thoughts on the dynamic between Sham and Ping? As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed my ramblings, I invite you to like and subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye!